Alright, so here is the not so masterclass. Oh shit. Okay, first things first. This is Death Tracker. This is a mod that tracks deaths, unsurprisingly. Now what you are looking at now is what this calls the reach rate. The way I'd think of this is, let's say you play from 0, 100 attempts. How far are those attempts going to get? And so here, 77 runs get to 6%, 11 or 12 of those runs will get to 42%, only 2 will get to 77, and then you'd be very lucky to get to the end. 0.07 is 7 out of 10,000, which is going to be like 1 in 1,000 and something. And by the way, I got this mod part of the way through my completion, so I don't even know if it properly tracked all the numbers or whatever, but it looks pretty accurate and I believe it, so, you know. And so the point of this is that this is generally how I try to visualize the game anyway. I know that there's pass rate, which I'll get to. This is something that demonstrates where you lose most of your attempts. This is like how hard parts of the level are, but that doesn't actually always translate to where your runs go. Namely, if 96% kills you half the time, guess what? It's at 96%. It's literally the last thing in the level. You're not going to get there more than 10 times, probably. So you can't die there that much. Listen, those 10 deaths will suck, but they won't take as much raw time as a few hundred. As here's the problem. From 6% to 10%, in that 3 or 4% span, I lose 38% of my attempts. And that's 38% attempts with 77% getting there. So that is roughly, I mean, you can just see by the line, between here and here, it's right in the middle. Half of my attempts from 6%, which is kind of where the level starts for real, die instantly. That's a problem. And this is roughly a good way of seeing this graph. If everything was perfectly consistent and killed you exactly as often, it would just go nice, a straight line from 0 to 100. If it's steeper than that, then you're dying more often than you maybe should. And if it's more shallow than that, then you're dying less often. Most of this level has a very shallow line. And then there's this. The first 10% accounting for 61% of deaths is a problem. And it makes this level really difficult. It is the primary problem I had. If you look at pass rate, however, you will see that the other problem I had is down here at the bottom of the level. Because although I didn't lose as much, raw attempt count here, when I did get there, it was rough. Because it's a nervy part of the level. You can panic really easily, and as I might try and show here as I go through, a lot of the stuff does quite poorly if you're nervous. Everything is harder to do when you're nervous, but some bits of gameplay, some gameplay types are worse than others. And there's a lot of tough gameplay with nerves at the end. So this is how we're going to go about this. And this is going to be incredibly scuffed. You're the cube, it's not that fast, you jump there and hold. And all of this crap, the orbs, the clicking, these jumps, the ship here, you fly through, whatever. It's all nothing, it's really fine. It's from here that you get real big problems. The first 2 robot jumps aren't the most comfortable. They're not the most difficult, but immediately you have robot jumps that require some precision. You then have a mini ship that requires, again, some precision. So the bar is never really that low. You don't really get any free inputs in this section. Then you get 2 robot jumps here, and these are probably the first jumps these will kill you until the final day that you're playing the level, probably. It'll kill you for a while, at least. Especially the second jump, because if you jump too light, then when you try and buffer the green orb, you will hit the bottom. Essentially, you've got to be kind of micro clicks, but not too micro. So that's great. And then you have a wave part, and this is a bit finicky. This will kill you for a while until you get really used to it. It continues from mini wave into big wave, one that, to be honest, isn't especially wave shaped. And then you hit a spider. And again, up to here, there's a couple of robot clicks which are really awkward. This wave section, which is quite awkward until you've done it for many days in a row. And then you have a spider, which looks like, it's a spider. You just go up and down and up and down. except this click is very precise. Really, you have to click as late as possible, and if you click even a little bit early, like about here, you hit a spike. And even if you know that you have to click late, the second you stop paying attention because you've been playing for 2 hours, you just start dying a million times here. And that's really it. That is all of the terrible, really difficult part we're talking about. Starts there. You do 2 jumps, you fly a bit, you do 2 more jumps, you click some orbs, you do wave, and then you do a spider input, and that's it. It's like 5 or 10 seconds of gameplay. Because then you just sort of spam the ball a bit, click some random shit here, and then you're into the wave. Like, that's all we're talking about. And the rest of the level really doesn't pose that kind of threat. This part, for example, is just a wave. You know, you do wave gameplay. The only real issue, you could say, the hardest part of this wave for me was this portal. Made for a rather awkward transition, because as the reverse wave you fall down here, and first of all, to be noted, the hitbox for this is actually that. You don't actually aim for that, you aim for this. I don't know why they did that. Secretly, you can aim for way bigger than this, which makes it a lot easier. But as you go down the reverse wave, I preferred to cut like only halfway up, so where there's no way I'm dying to this, to click, do a little tiny click, and then let it fall in. I've seen other people go way higher and then dive straight down. Whatever. Just figure something out there. The rest is very much just muscle memory. This ball is very much just muscle memory. You learn it and then you can do it. This isn't a very complicated part. Still, it will trip you up a couple times, but that's part of the course. I don't think it's exceptionally annoying. And then you get a whole extended section here, which is, again, actually very, very consistent. There are 1 or 2 clicks that you might trip up on. In particular, I'd say the jumps between here, where these actually come down. You know, the jumps where you're jammed between 2 blocks. If you haven't done it very much, you might be clicking early and dying instantly. Once you'll end up doing this many, many times, and that will stop happening. So this entire section, all of these inputs, really rudimentary. You get a slightly awkward wave here because I'm a wave. And I'm not seeing many diagonal lines. I'm seeing spikes and cogs just kind of there. But you get used to this part, and then you're on the wave. Now, this wave is also very consistent, except for one thing. You know, you just pass through and it's fine. Then you get to this, and this is really it. Because after this, you just click the orbs, and again, you're going sort of up and down, and you're just doing wave, and there's a lot of space, and it's fine. And you'll get muscle memory for it. Here, these pink orbs don't do anything, as in, you will come up as the wave, move as the cube, slide along, slide into them. When you hit the pads, you don't go anywhere and you just fall to your death. So you have to, I would hold the wave from here so that you automatically jump. And then you get to this orb. And the point is quite simple. You don't have to time these, you just kind of spam them. However, on this orb, if you buffer it as early as possible, you die. If you wait too long, like a little bit too long, then you can die here by going too high, which is annoying because you wait long enough and click the orb, but then you still die. But then if you click even later, if you click very late, you can make the gap, but also then when you make the gap, you fall through. Sometimes you make the gap and it actually works, and then sometimes you make the gap and it bugs and you don't jump properly. Anything can happen here. The way it works fairly consistently is that you basically hit it early, but just not as early as physically possible. If you pretty much have to buffer it as early as possible to hit this. If you go just a little bit later, you'll make it through quite consistently. But if you go just a little bit later than that, then all hell breaks loose. So that's why this is annoying. But it can be it will usually end up being very consistent. This spider isn't fun. I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's well made. I think it's very weird, but it works after you practice it and play it a lot. My main advice is that if you're dying on any of the clicks, you're usually going to be dying from clicking too slow. Usually you need to click quite fast to go up and down quickly, especially through the speed changes. It's a lot of like click sort of double patterns, and you have to go quickly. And don't go early here. Wait here, because I find it's quite easy to hit this and then still smash the spike here. Other than that, that's fine. Vibrant ball, I don't care. Just you just learn it, and it doesn't act that way. It's one of the more consistent parts. You know, don't do anything silly. And so you should see again. Most things are fine, really, after the start. There's like tiny notes, but there's no challenge. And again, you get to here and it's really quite simple. Just don't let go of this orb too early. I just click and hold so that you bounce up, you go up here, and you hold so that you jump out of there. I found a couple of times I would not hold long enough and I just fall down. Don't do that. You just click orbs, you fall off here and click this one and click there, whatever. Ship part where you fly. This can be a bit awkward, but it's something that's just consistent. You just learn how to do it. It's not difficult. Here, don't click these orbs too early. You can definitely buffer this one too early and die. Just don't click too early. Very, very simple, very consistent. You just hold all of the inputs here. I find this part is weird and it's not... People didn't use D-block like this in the future for a reason. Not a fan of this, but there's not much to do here. You just don't die. You click buttons and just sort of jump, and then you just sort of fly. It's just not rocket science after the first 10%. It's really simple. This part's a bit weird, but it works consistently as well. The one thing I'd say is, when you come through the ship here, land. Don't go high in the portal, because then you'll fall through the transition randomly. Land... And then every time you fall, you can pretty much click this whenever and live. Don't click that early or you'll die. That's it. I try to click this early. This is one of the weirder parts as well. I just skipped this speed change every time. And one of the weird quirks I found with this level was that I think different creators with parts after this point kind of tested their parts, assuming... some of them that this would be hit, and some of them assuming that people would skip this. Because some parts, I find, sync with the music really well, the way I did it, by skipping this speed change. And some parts seem to sync really well when you hit the speed change. So that's weird. Figure out which way feels most comfortable. Both work. When you just hit the green orb and then hit all of the blue orbs and this red orb. But either you'll be faster or slower when you do it. It's all the same once you get to here, so figure out what works. And when you get to here, you just hit that and then hold. So you jump. And very occasionally a weird bug would happen where instead of jumping and landing here and jumping, you jump and soar over the edge and die. And I never knew what caused it. I still don't. It just happens sometimes. So that's great. Just get lucky and don't die there, I guess. That's all I have to say. When you come over here, don't click this too early because you'll die. Wait a little bit, and then when you click it and come up here, you click again quickly and hold on these so that you fall up to here and jump over and then let go, because you'll hit the ceiling here if you hold too long. This part's a bit weird. I died here a lot because it feels inconsistent. You need to jump into this portal early enough so that you don't hit this spike. And then you just jump and then jump twice. Jump into the blue portal, jump twice. At the right timing. Not too fast, not too slow. It's really feely, really weird. You should be able to get used to it, but it's not... You'll probably die there a few times. And then this part's fine. As long as you don't click this green orb too early and hit that spike. Just go a tiny bit later than early. Don't buffer it. Just go normal amounts of early. And then wait until you're roughly in the middle of that block before you jump, because you'll also die there if you jump too early. Then you get a jewel, which I can't really see. You get a jewel, and this jewel's weird. It's not difficult, and it is fairly consistent, but it's not natural. You've got to figure out what you do for consistency and how to, it's weird. It's an asymmetrical jewel, man. And it's kind of sync based. You just click when you click. You just click on orbs and stuff. It's quite simple, but don't jump off of here too early or too late, because it can affect you later. And try and have the ship going into this blue portal around the middle. If it's too low or too high, it can give you some issues. I find if you're right in the middle, you have a lot of room to hit this orb, and the ship won't die up too high or too low. And then you can just kind of hold, and I fall in with the ship here. It is what it is. This part's not that bad. Don't hit this too early or too late. It's not that hard a window to hit. But if you're nervous, it can be. This is the nerve control challenge area. Once you hit this point, this is where I experienced a lot more challenge from nerves. I mean, this is such a weird feel-based part. If you're nervous, you can easily, even though it's very simple, not hit your cues, not be in the right sort of place. Again, here I died to this orb a lot, even though it's frankly quite difficult to. You basically hit this orb, and then you buffer these two orbs, and this window is so big that it's not worth talking about. But given that to make this consistent I buffer these two orbs, if you go too late on the red orb, it is possible to die from buffering. So you can't go too late, and if you go too early, you obviously hit the spike. And then again, you have this part, which is weird as hell, and kind of feel-based, so if you're very nervous, and you don't control it well, it's very possible that you will die here several times. It's a very awkward mini wave part that, again, is not really shaped like the wave. And then you've got this, and again, gameplay is not actually that hard. You click things, then you fly through things, and, you know, it's not a difficult ship part, but if you're nervous, you can go too high or too low here, instead of just flying through smoothly like there's no problem. Then you get to a strange spider, again. Here, you have 3 dash orbs in a row, which is questionable, I think. And confusingly, I would say, you're not supposed, after going dash orb, dash orb, dash orb, to land here. If you land there, you give yourself a very tight timing, which looks very weird, quite simply. I mean, what's this? Why not make a spike? Why is the object killing me an invisible brick? And now that I'm looking at these time things, I mean, are you meant to do the timing like that? Because, I mean, that's scuffed as hell. What I found was that if you cut this dash orb really short, the spider will fall and kind of not fall here for some reason and fall on top of this platform, which gives you a really free timing. Otherwise, this is mega awkward, and I hate it. Then you just click buttons and click buttons. Here you're supposed to jump and then double click this to go down up, but this has to be a really tight micro click. Doing the micro click from here is more forgiving, so do that. And then the ending. The ending is actually quite simple. You just jump, you click 3 times, and then you do a click here, but you have to click long enough. You can't click too short because then the robot will hit the spike. You know, you just click this orb, and then, you know, I mean, this timing window is enormous. You just click, and then you click, and that's it. You don't even have to do whatever this orb is supposed to do. It's no need. You straight fly, you know, you just look at the ship here. You don't need to look at anything else. You just couple of clicks to straight fly, hit the orb, hit the orb, hit the orb, straight fly, hit the orb, hit the orb, hit the orb. Like, it's not difficult, it's not complicated. It's a little, I mean, in theory it should require a bit of precision, but frankly it felt like it didn't. When I played from zero, it just kind of happened. Here, with these ball timings, it's possible to die from going too early to this spike. It's possible to die from coming off this platform too early into this spike. But it's really quite lenient. You click here, you click 3 times, they're quite lenient. You click here, that's not difficult. Wait a second, don't jump off of here too early. I find that if you wait until you're a bit further along, doing 2 small clicks will pretty much always land you on the platform perfectly. Jump, click, click, and then you just have to not panic here. You know, who would do that? And basically when you come out of this, when you fall down in a teleporter, you just make sure you don't click too early. Don't try, you know, don't react too early. And that's it. Now basically, there's no super challenging thing here. This isn't super challenging, really. This isn't super challenging. This isn't that difficult. It's mega awkward. This isn't that difficult. This isn't that difficult. It's just mega awkward. Nothing from the last 30% is that hard. It's just a bit weird at worst, but weird when you're nervous is enough to really cause issues, so that's the problem. The middle of the level has a couple of weird quirky areas, weird UFO jumps here, you know, a couple of specific timings, but nothing that's a massive actual challenge, nothing that's actually difficult to execute really, not disproportionately anyway. This is all fine, you know, these ship clicks aren't that hard, none of these timings are that hard, this part's weird but it's not that hard, that's not even gameplay, that's not even really a challenge, this gets super consistent, this isn't even real gameplay. Say from like 50 to 70 there's nothing, from 70 to 100 there's nothing, the vibrant ball may as well not exist, this is just spider clicks, you just click when you gotta click, it's weird but you can also just get kind of muscle memory for this. This is all muscle memory, this wave. This is the one thing that can really trip you up, and if you know how it works, it kind of doesn't. This is all muscle memory. So now from like 35 to 50 is also really simple and consistent. All of this is really consistent and muscle memory and simple timings, you just learn it. All the way back to 21%. So 21% to 100 is all unremarkable. This ball isn't that hard. This ball's very simple. This wave is all muscle memory, except for this transition, which is, I mean, you can just learn it. And the rest of the wave is muscle memory. It's probably one of the harder parts of the level in terms of mechanical raw difficulty, but it's just, it's consistent. And so, we get back to here. Literally, I swear, the whole level is quite unremarkable and very accessible and consistent. It's just all of this nonsense, this like 3% part. That's it. I rest my case. Come on! Get in there, I'm so fucking close! Oh, yes.